Hey there, welcome to the HB Show. My name's Harrison Blair, but feel free to call me HB. Today, I'm thrilled to have Robert Brock with us. Robert has over 25 years of experience in end-to-end supply chain management. He's currently the CEO of Ranews Industries, a leader in precision fabrication, industrial coatings, and assembly and logistics. I haven't known Robert for very long, but in the short time that I've known him and the conversations that we've had, I can tell that he's a really well-rounded individual. He has a beautiful family, a thriving career, and he tries to live a healthy lifestyle, whether that's by eating the right kinds of foods or staying active through CrossFit. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first guest of the show, Mr. Robert Brock.
You're watching the HB Show.
Interesting. Gosh, so people are making them. That's why there's so many people doing this.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Beast, he has 30 different channels, and he has channels for different languages, the same content in different languages, which is crazy. I think he has like 50 channels.
Does he do the content in different languages? I mean, I would think there's some kind of AI that would just like...
It's all translated. Yeah, it's just straight translate.
Like,
yeah.
I take this video, I drop it into this app, and it spits out, but he's just putting it on another channel, so it's easy to... So you don't commingle the view. Yeah, so if you're not having to search through the views or the list of things, trying to find the one that's you can understand.
Yeah, and then people don't want to like click the three dots at the top to like change language or see like subtitles and stuff. They pay people to like do voiceovers for Mr. Beast.
Oh, it's actual people.
It's actual voiceovers. Yeah.
Oh well. Well, I guess he's got the resources to do it.
Yeah, I think he has like 1,000 employees that work for him. Yeah, like I think each video he puts millions of dollars
just
in
to do.
Crazy.
I guess it's a production company, right? At this point, it's the new TV.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, he's probably bigger than NBC, ABC, Fox, all of them. Like all the
Joe Rogan, Mr. Beast, all of them have way more viewers than any of the legacy media. But
I've never seen a Mr. Beast video. What does he even like cover?
He'll do crazy videos where he'll have like someone stuck in a room with cockroaches for as long as they want, but he'll pay them a certain amount per day. Or he'll do like it's just crazy videos.
It's just off the wall. Like,
have you seen Squid Game? Like the show on Netflix, it's this. I'm not sure where the show's from, but it's like essentially those games where if you lost, you died. They don't actually do that in the show, obviously, but they had like a Mr. Beast version of Squid Games, and they released that. It was like 100 people on it. He has a huge production for all of this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've read about his stuff. I've just never really tried to figure out. I mean, my boys when they were younger, they would like talk about his whatever show or episode or whatever they call them he had put out, but I never sat down and like watched it with them. But I mean, it's essentially it's a sitcom. It's like the new version of, or I don't know, like what's that show? They like Impractical Joker. We used to watch that.
That's so hard to watch.
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful. We used to watch that when they were young, but
they've got some stuff on there. It's like, but some of it's like, most of it's really good. I just cringe so hard. Like, it's so hard to watch.
It's so awkward, so uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's definitely, but the boys love that one. But never seen Mr. Beast anyways. Like, I guess he's the biggest YouTube person there is, right?
Yep, I think so. And then another one that's on the rise and has definitely gone there is Kai Cenat. He's a live streamer though. So all of his content's live. He'll get like Kevin Hart into his basement.
That's risky.
Record crazy videos. Yeah, it is risky. He's definitely gotten hit with some stuff before, but it happens if you're gonna do live content.
So is there anything? So like on TV, there's the FCC or whatever that regulates it, where you can't like swear. There's certain rules, right? You got to follow. Is there any? There's none of that on.
Well, there's. It depends on the platform. So like he mostly streams to Twitch, and Twitch has their own guidelines, community guidelines they have to follow. Things you can't say. Can't do certain things on stream, but he'll get banned for a week or something. But he makes them so much money, it's not even funny. I mean,
there's a lot of slapping on the hands.
Yeah, it's like, don't do that. He's like, okay.
I'll try.
Yeah, exactly. But he'll bring crazy people on, just do crazy stuff, and he's done like a video game stream for like 7 days straight, trying to beat this game, where he'll have like this entire background in his building, like all set up that looks just like the game. He'll dress up in like a knight's outfit, like to play it's crazy, but
to play video games.
He's a variety streamer. He's really cool though.
Now I'm gonna go home and have to do a bunch of trying to find these people.
Yeah.
See what it's all about.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but
it's wild that you can make that much money. So those guys are getting hundreds of millions of views like every week.
And that's not to mention, like, so for example, let's take Joe Rogan, for example. So he makes money off the YouTube videos that he makes. obviously, but he also has these partnerships that he has outside of the videos where he'll pause the video midway, and then advertise this company and makes deals from that.
Yeah, I'm always fast forwarding those when I'm listening.
Yeah.
I have a 30, 40 minute drive to work, to and from. So an hour and 20 minutes a day. And then, I try to make use of that time. So I've always got some kind of a podcast. So, Rogan, Huberman, Jocko, there's the regulars that I'm trying to find like decent. Yeah, I'm more interested in who they're talking to because that kind of defines the subject that they're covering. So looking for people that might be of interest to me to listen to and try to make something out of that hour and 20 minutes time instead of just,
Yeah, that's one tip that I saw when I was watching videos about podcasting in general is that a lot of podcasters, they'll just not learn to shut up and let the guest talk.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to have the guest on, let them talk. And
there was a few months ago, there was a Jordan Peterson, Elon podcast. And again, I'm not one to criticize anybody doing this kind of thing. So I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it was frustrating because Elon would start to talk and Peterson would like jump in over the top of him. And the interview was an hour or 2 hours long, whatever it was, but it was like mostly Jordan, the interviewer talking, not the guy who was there. That's the only one I've ever really listened to though, where I felt like the balance was wrong. Right.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, it was frustrating as a listener.
I mean, they're two hyper intellectuals, and
yeah, I mean, they're both super smart and I don't have a problem listening to either one of them. Right. But in that setting, I was hoping to hear the answer, he was asking the question and then Elon would start to answer and then Peterson would jump in with some, one of his perspectives, from a psychological perspective.
And that takes time to digest in itself.
Yeah, it's super complicated. So it does, it's a lot of talking to get that concept fully worked out. And but when you got the opportunity to interview arguably the smartest person in the world, you might want to just let the man talk.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Try to constrain that.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, there are two different types of intellectuals too. You have Elon, who's like one of the best engineers in the world, the best engineer in the world, probably.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have Jordan Peterson, who's super intellectual himself.
Oh yeah.
From the psychological perspective, just crazy.
Super interesting, both of them.
Yeah. Did you see Elon's rocket that he caught? That was so cool.
Yeah, I don't even think there's words to appropriately describe that. It's I don't know. And you hear people talk about this all the time, but it's like he's running all these massive companies, and then he just puts all that on hold for like a whole month to go jump into the political scene and start campaigning. I don't know how he has the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
I just think about all the things I'm trying to juggle in my life, and it's like, and he has how many kids? 6, 7 different kids, and very complicated setup for him for sure. That's it seems unmanageable, but he seems to do very well. But there's also something too, like there's a saying, right, that if you want to get something done, give it to the person that's the busiest because they've just got this momentum and this ability to, stay on top of things. Yeah. And there's a lot of truth in that. So there's also like the flywheel effect, right? Once you get so many things spinning, if you ever get a break, it's kind of, the momentum falls off and everything starts to kind of collapse on you potentially. So, but he's just got, it's an unimaginable.
It's the same way with like leading a business too. You want to have like the city climb up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, from my perspective, for sure, like growing, there's no staying where you're at, right? You're either growing the business or the business is declining. You may be ignorant to that fact, but at some point that's going to be revealed to you in a very painful way. So you just got to constantly be chasing the next thing, or you're going to die. And you just, if you think you're holding or you think you're treading water, you're not. You've got your blinders on and you're not seeing things for what they really are. Like your customers, at least in our business, your customers are trying to grow. We serve large Fortune 50, Fortune 500 OEMs. Those are the people that we're chasing. And then obviously we try to, not obviously I haven't talked about what we do yet, but and then we try to support their supply base as well with the services we offer. So, and they're publicly traded companies, so they're all incentivized to grow, right? Next quarter's got to be better than last quarter. Next year's got to be better than last year. And obviously there's cycles to all of it that are assignable causes for things falling off maybe 1 year to the next. But over a 5 to 10 year period, if they're not demonstrating steady growth, their stock price goes down, all their compensation packages go down. So they're incentivized to grow. And so we've got to grow with them or they'll replace us.
Okay.
It's kind of how our business, at least from my perspective, philosophically, that's the kind of partner we want to be with our customer base. And so that's, to your point, like you've just got to constantly, and kind of back to maybe Elon Musk's mindset, right? You've just got to constantly be chasing the next thing or the business that you're leading and all the people that count on you to, provide opportunities and employment for them. That's all at risk. And, but you got to balance that with what you can actually handle. You can't go quadruple your company in 6 months. Like that's also a poison pill that'll put you out of business quickly. You gotta balance the cash flow. You gotta balance the organizational capacity to take on whatever the project is, whatever the opportunity is that's in front of you, and make sure it's something A, we're going to be really successful at. B, it's something we can be really world class at. Because you don't want to take something on and then 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you get replaced because you just suck at it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be intelligent about what you pursue, but you've always got to be pursuing something. Because if there's not opportunities out there for you to grow, then you need to start looking at, you need to start watching out for the business going the other way, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been replaced.
So as far as Ranew goes, how do you know when you want to, so that you guys have 11 locations right now, right? Or is it something?
Yeah.
12, or?
So we, Ranews we're an industrial coatings company, which is just a fancy way of saying a painter. We applied, there's several different technologies we use, liquid paint, which is the most common, like what people paint cars with. We do powder coating, which is also fairly well known. And then there's some immersion processes we use called E-coat or A-coat, which are just different ways of getting paint onto the parts that it doesn't require a direct line of sight, right? So you can paint internal cavities, chambers to an extent with those technologies. But yeah, we have 11 locations in Georgia, in the Midwest US. Because in our business, you've kind of got to be in order to be eligible to do the job, let's say, you've got to kind of be on the route from where the component or the thing that needs to be painted is and where it's going to end up at the OEM's assembly line, most likely. So if we're not on that route, we're out of the game, just because oftentimes the logistics cost of sending it somewhere would far exceed the value add that we're providing. So that's why we have kind of this scattered layout, and we're unable to. It'd be nice to have everything in one big shop, and from a management perspective, it'd save us a lot of travel expense, save you a lot of time on planes every month, but that's not the way it works for us. So in order to, again, continue to grow, we've had to put these locations where our customers need us to be, and so that's something we're always on the lookout for, always in discussions with, and we make it very clear to all of our customers that that's something we're very willing to do for the right opportunity, with the right commitment, the right return on investment. Obviously, we've got to be wise about how we approach those things financially, but because it's easy for them to say, yeah, come and put a plant right next to me. But then if there's not enough work to support that plant, that goes downhill very, very quickly. So,
okay.
So there's a lot of analysis that goes into making those decisions about where we want to be and what the real opportunity is, and a lot of negotiations that go on to make sure that it's the right deal for us and for our customer. Because everything's got to be win-win. We're there to fundamentally solve whatever problem it is that they're presenting us with, but it's got to, and they recognize that it's got to be financially viable for everybody. They're not going to pay us more than they pay the people doing it currently. They're not going to pay us more than what the market rate is for what we do. And these big companies have armies of people that know all those things. They study them, they analyze them. That's their job. They're purchasing professionals that keep everything in check. So, that's kind of what we do and how we approach it to an extent, at least. Okay,
cool. Do each of these locations, do they specialize in one of the three services that you provide, or is it, one or two maybe, or is it, do you guys have to ship between the different locations very often, or how does that work?
Yeah, all the above.
Okay.
So let me just think. So 5, 6. I'd say just off the cuff, I think 6 without spending too much time counting in my head. 6 of them are just dedicated. They do one thing.
Okay.
7 of them do one thing. And then the other 4 have multiple processes. So our headquarters is in Milner, so just south of
not too far
south
from
of here. And there we have our broadest capabilities. We also do some manufacturing there. So we do have some businesses that are not just paint only, but all of our manufacturing happens in Milner, and then all the other locations are just paint. But there's some that do, like generally if you have an immersion process like an e-coat, you also have a top coating process, because that immersion process is really just a primer.
Okay.
And then you have a top coat process that goes along with that. So generally you have an e-coat and a powder coat together. So we have 3 facilities that do that. But yeah, it just kind of comes back to what was the driving force behind establishing that location. Some of them we acquired, so in some cases acquiring that location. And but those already had existing assets, the ones we acquired. So yeah, it just really depends on what the customer, what the product requires, what technology. Okay.
And speaking about these customers, I know I'm curious, like during the pandemic, how did that affect, I guess, business for Ranew? Because I assume you're providing for these clients, these Fortune 500 clients, and they have a need. And if you're not able to get those materials in to get the job done, how does that work?
Yeah, it was wild. Just like it was for everybody. I mean, we were not immune from all the supply chain issues, the labor force issues, the regulatory disruptions. So it was tough. We were deemed an essential business just because of our relationship with our customers. They were all deemed essential, and then by virtue of them being essential, that passed through to our business. So we had to remain open, which was tough because we had a bunch of people. It's kind of a mixed bag, just like every large group of folk. Excuse me, in a large group of people, you have folks on all sides of the issue, right? So we had a bunch of employees that felt like it wasn't fair to them that they had to come to work, or it wasn't safe for them to come to work. We had to follow all the rules and regulations that the state of Georgia put out here. In the other locations, we had to follow the rules set forth by those states. We were fortunate in Georgia because the rules were relatively relaxed compared to other states that at least you hear about. Didn't have any firsthand.
You were able to get the job done at least.
Yeah, but we were able to. And again, what we do, we were able to kind of keep everybody. We don't have a lot of really tight quartered working locations. I mean, some of the guys are hanging parts on the line, but they can kind of like stagger.
Yep.
What they do, and it's not perfect, right? They're going to end up within the 6-foot rule, but to the extent we could, we coached them and worked with them to try to keep everybody safe. And then in our manufacturing areas, everything was pretty spaced out. So we were able to navigate that. We did have a few, I don't know if they were disgruntled employees or whatever, but guys who thought it wasn't right for them to have to be coming to work that kind of reported us to the state. So we had the sheriff's office would come and walk through. I mean, they were great. Yeah. They came in and they were doing their job. They got a complaint. They come in unannounced. They walk through the place, do an inspection. Okay. Everything was up to par. So we had, I think, 2 or 3 of those, visits.
It happens.
Yeah. And it was all good. I mean, it worked out. We were able to keep running. The worst part was we did have a few projects we were doing that just got canceled. So during that time, we employ, at that time it was like 20 or 25 welders, which is a skill that's hard. It's hard to find people that are good welders and hire for that. That's always been a challenge as long as I've been there, both pre-COVID and post-COVID. So we lost a project that was employing half of our welding staff. And so we're sitting around, it's like, we got the payroll money from the government to try to keep everybody employed and paid and busy. But we didn't have enough for these guys to do. And we knew we didn't want to let them go because at some point it's all going to bounce back and we'll find another job for them or another project. Something was going to come up. So we got together and one of the guys that worked with us had some experience in the trailer industry, pull behind. And so he was suggesting that we start a line of dump trailers, which we ended up doing. So the owner of the company, he goes out and he buys like 2 or 3. Well, he owned a couple, and he went out and bought another couple of dump trailers, brings them in. We line them up in the shop, and we're kind of going through them, like trying to come up with a product design. Right?
Yeah.
We had some ideas, whatever, but we're comparing different features of these different trailers and like, okay, we like this, we don't like that. So anyways, through all that, we put together a design and go to market with it and start building our dealer network. And we pulled that off in like less than 90 days.
So were you trying to change how the trailer operated, or was it?
No, we were just trying to make a competitive product.
Okay.
Into that existing dump trailer market.
Okay.
And really, we were just trying to find something we could do that we thought we could make money on, and
getting creative in the time where opportunities were
keep
less,
our guys busy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something that would cover the payroll.
That's
really.
Smart.
Yeah. So we had a good group.
You definitely want to keep those employees because they're hard to find.
Yeah,
like you said,
absolutely. And
to get them back would be difficult.
So that was it. You know, we're still in the trailer business to this day. That was a good, and definitely the dump trailer market is the right market for us to be in. There's a huge, back to the COVID thing, there was a huge scarcity of supply at that point in time, just because of all the supply chain disruptions. So we were able to really quickly build a dealer network just because they needed product. Like they had demand for their products, they couldn't get it. So we were able to fill a niche and get established quickly. So that worked out well for us in the COVID time. But yeah, the rest of it was really just trying to make sure you're following the rules,
mm-hmm.
staying up to date on what's really going on with this thing. And, you know, again, there was so much conflicting information. Trying to keep your employees engaged, let them know these are the things we're doing to look out for you. So there was definitely some communication that we had to stay on top of to make sure nobody felt like we were being, again, they're going to have their own opinions one way or the other, but
mm-hmm.
at least we did everything we could to make sure that they knew that we were trying to follow the rules, trying to keep everybody as safe as possible
being there for them.
While fulfilling our responsibility to our customers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a reason why the government said we need to stay open. So we got to kind of juggle all these balls. And when you're doing anything that happens like that, just anything in business, you can't make everybody happy, right? You're going to have people on one far end that are mad no matter what you do. People are super happy. And then you really got to worry about the group in the middle that and making sure you're giving them all the information so that they understand at least what your intent is, how you're trying to fulfill that intent, and give them an opportunity to help you do it better.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there an example that you can give of Ranew just providing excellent value to a client that touched all 3 sides of the business, like precision fabrication, assembly and logistics, and coding?
Yeah, I mean, almost all the manufacturing we do falls into that category. I mean, that's really where we excel. We're set up to cover that gamut, right? That's what we're good at. The coatings piece we're very good at as a standalone, but we don't generally try to compete on projects where it's just like fabricating something mm-hmm. at a very high volume. That's okay. If we can't, we're most interested in producing items that run that gamut. So, you know, we make enclosures for gen sets. So like the sheet metal mm-hmm. housing that goes over it. And that's one where we cut the steel, bend it, weld it up, paint it, and then we assemble that. And then it goes to our customer and they just pick it up and drop it onto their gen set and it's ready to go to their customer. So those types of opportunities, the dump trailers is another mm-hmm. good example. Again, that's a product distribution that we own, design through customer, but that's another reason why that was a good market for us to jump into. We built another product called a Ferminator, which is it's an ag implement. It's a farming implement technically, but we sell it into the hunting industry. You know, it'll turn the soil over, drops the seeds in, mm-hmm. and then cultipacks or closes the soil back down all in one pass. So it's really useful for small food plot size farming operations, or if you're doing a dove field planting sunflowers. So we market that really hard into the hunting industry, but it's another one where it's, okay, we cut all the steel, we weld it all together, make all the sub-assemblies, get them all painted, assemble it together, and then that one we sell direct to customer as well through dealers. But
how much does like one of those tools cost for like the hunting? Just curious.
It depends on the size. So they range from like we make a 3-footer that you can pull behind your ATV mm-hmm. or UTV all the way up to an 8-footer.
Okay.
you're looking, and again, depending on what options and other things, on the low end, around $5,000, $4,000, up to $10,000, $12,000. I mean, we make one that has a tiller on it, so that's a pretty expensive add-on. So that pushes the price point up pretty high.
Cool. And I assume they last a long, long time because they're,
Yeah, I mean, they last a long time. We sell, we have some customers that tear them up, break them, need service parts. So we sell some service parts, but we have several thousand of them out in the field, and
that's awesome.
Very rarely are sending any kind of repair parts. They're built, they're robust. The guys that designed that they weren't leaving anything to chance. So it's a heavy duty product.
Cool. Well, we can get back to Ranew in a second, but I definitely want to turn just to you in general. I know it's a little past 12 right now, but I'm curious what your morning routine looks like.
Well, my morning routine is so most days I get up pretty early. I've been for the last almost year now. I started out, I do the cold plunge first thing in the morning. So that's the first thing I do.
It's a cool guy's bath, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's it's not super cold. I do it at like it's around 50 degrees. But I started out doing the cold showers, and I made myself do that for 3 months every morning for 3 minutes before I spent the money to get the actual setup. So, it started out, my gym did this challenge, and so that was one of the things you're supposed to do every day was a 3 minute or 2 minute, maybe for them was the cold shower. So I do that because I hate it, and it's kind of like one of those things. I listened to, again, back to the podcast that we were discussing earlier, but I just heard someone say that there's when you make yourself do things you don't want to do. And so there's some positive attributes or whatever that come out of that. So that's the thing.
Absolutely. Every
morning I get up and I go in there and I sit in that thing for 5 minutes, and I hate it. But you get out, you do it, you feel amazing after you do it. It wakes you up for sure. Anyways, do that.
What are some of the benefits of that first for you?
Supposedly, there's cardiovascular benefits.
Okay.
There's also these proteins that your liver releases. So your body, when you get into cold water, your body goes into survival mode. And so it releases these cold shock proteins, they're called. They're good at healing the body. They go in and help get rid of free radicals and kind of help your body stay healthier.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
those are
3 months. You did 3 months in the shower, doing cold.
Yeah,
I flipped it over for a couple of seconds before. It's not fun. How do you get through that? It's 3 minutes each time, or
I started out doing 3 minutes. Now in the cold plunge, I do 5. I'll tell you, the cold shower. So when I was doing this, we were traveling to Iowa. We started a new plant in Iowa last year in the fourth quarter, and they're having some challenges. So we ended up having to basically spend January and February in Iowa. And I will tell you that taking a cold shower in Georgia is a cakewalk compared to trying to do the same thing in Iowa. The 3 minutes, the water that comes out of the spigot there is
ice.
Oh, it's it's way colder. And then I was doing some of it in the pool, in our pool in the spring, because the pool water gets, we just leave it full all winter long, because you can get away with that in Georgia. So I just get in the pool, because it'd be 35, 40, not 35, but high 30s up to 50 degrees. But yeah, I know it's just one of those things you kind of got to build up to it. I did start out doing a minute, 2 minutes, but really once you get 1 minute in, it's not any worse. The first minute's the worst.
Yeah.
And then your body gets saturated with the cold, and then it's just you're watching the clock and trying to find a way to take your mind off of it. But the cold shower in Iowa is way worse than the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Now the 5 minutes.
I can imagine.
It's because the water's just running over you, and it's just miserable.
Yeah, I know Joe Rogan does it as well, and other.
Yeah, he's got the serious ones that are, right at the fringe of frozen.
Yeah. Where there's I think there's a pump in those, right? Or...
Yeah. The one I've got's got a pump. It's got it's definitely the low budget, kind of budget version of it, but
it's just a cold bath. Then,
It's I don't know. I think I can turn it down a little bit more to it'll get down. The one I've got, I think 38 degrees, but it'll be interesting now because it's in my garage. And now that, all summer long when I was doing it, in the garage, it's 90 plus degrees. So you're in this hot environment, you get in the cold water,
that's even
then you
worse,
get out.
probably, yeah.
But this winter it'll be interesting to see how that goes because it's going to be 30, 40 degrees in the garage.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be cold walking in, then getting in, and then getting out. So we'll see how that goes. But
you said you were talking about your club earlier. What club are you a part of?
I work out at a CrossFit gym,
Okay.
Dirty South Strength and Conditioning in Fayetteville. So back to the morning routine. So do the cold plunge, go upstairs, get ready, go to the gym. They have class at 6 a.m. that I go to anytime I'm in town. I'm there every day. Get done with that, get home, shower, and then I'm at work. And usually I get to work somewhere between 8 and 8:30. Just depending on how the workout, when we get done with the workout, how long it takes me to kind of pick myself up off the floor, depending on how hard it is, and get out of there, get home. So
how intense is CrossFit?
It's as intense as you want it to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done it before. I have friends that have done it in the past in high school. I don't know anything about it. I've seen Orange Theory before where it's like the 3 different machines, but
yeah, Orange Theory is very different. Again, I haven't done Orange Theory. I just know that it's just cardio. It's like you go to Orange Theory, you're doing cardio, and it's like heart rate zone type training. They try to keep you in a certain zone. CrossFit's very different. I mean, one day it could be a 40-minute workout, and the next day there's some that are a minute. It's just high intensity. So the ethos of CrossFit is really constantly varied. So everything you do is they're always mixing it up, but it's a combination of weightlifting, both power and Olympic lifting, and all kinds of other just movements that are designed to test your fitness or improve your fitness, depending on how you look at it. So
cool.
I started doing that actually coming out of COVID. When COVID kind of started, my middle son was trying to get ready to do wrestling in high school. And so he'd been doing lessons and training with some of the coaches around the area. But when COVID came out, they stopped it all. You couldn't go train. You couldn't, obviously wrestling, you're right on top of people.
Yeah.
There's no 6 foot.
Were they wearing masks at that time? Were they wearing masks and wrestling?
No, I don't think they ever made them. They made them wear masks when, even when the season started with the high school, they made them wear masks like when they were waiting to wrestle, but when they actually did the actual wrestling, they didn't make them wear masks.
That's so interesting.
Unlike some of these places, like I've heard stories about swim teams that had to wear masks while they were swimming, that seems like, that's basically waterboarding yourself. But we didn't have any of that in Georgia, fortunately. But anyway, so the gym, I started looking at CrossFit gyms because I'd done it several years back, just for a few months. I was into like triathlons, biking, running, swimming, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I kind of had this knee injury that was nagging me from running. So I had to quit running. So I went and joined this CrossFit gym for like 3 months while I tried to let that.
Try to repair it?
Yeah. Let that recover. So I had a little bit of a sense of how it was. And so I felt like that'd be good, because it's a lot of high intensity interval training, which is essentially what a wrestling match is, right? It's like 3 minutes on, you get a minute in between rounds, go 3 minutes again. So anyways, started taking him to the gym just to help him get in shape for wrestling season, and just really liked it. Just really liked the coaches were excellent. The environment was excellent. The workouts is always something different, and they make it in such a way that there's there's a lot of competition involved. So like everybody's kind of posting, they write all the scores on the board of like how long it took you to do it, or how much weight you did, or whatever the measure of success is for that given workout. They record all that on the board, so you can kind of see your progression, right? Where when you start out and you're the new guy, your score sucks, right? You're the bottom of the list, and then as you get better, you kind of start to pass certain people, and there's just a good feedback system of like you're making progress, and the competitive element of it is I enjoy. I grew up playing sports, and so just always been a super competitive person. So I like that. You kind of get that feedback of, did I really work as hard as I thought I did, or did I, kind of slack off? And
we all know, if you did your best.
Yeah.
So when you're lying to yourself, but that's cool.
Yeah. So I really enjoy it. So I've been doing that since June of 2020. So whatever that is, 4+ years now.
Cool. I know you said that you did some competitions before in the past.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different competitions that go on. Participated in a few of those. So cool. That's also fun. It's, I think that helps you as well with like your training every day, when you've got something, on the horizon that you want to be as prepared for as possible. So it helps you just push a little harder on the
Cool.
the regular workouts. And
It's cool that you got your kid involved in it too. Like,
yeah,
it's probably pretty hard to like find time to be with your kids.
Yeah, he was coming at 6 a.m. with me.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, he was. I mean, pretty much every day. So he was.
That's good discipline for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive for a 15, 16-year-old.
Okay, so he's about to be in high school now.
Well, no, he was at that time. He's a sophomore in college now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so he'll be 21 in a few months.
Cool.
Well,
how do you find time to balance? Because you're CEO, very busy. How do you find time to balance, activities with your kids and your family and making sure everything's going well at work? And
I don't know. I don't know.
It's hard.
I don't know that I do that well. I don't think I'd be somebody to take advice from on that. I'm very fortunate. My wife's amazing, so she does a very good job of just handling everything. I know I drive her crazy because I don't always like when it comes to home stuff. At work, I've always got to be involved in it. I don't say involved but I got to be aware of what's going on. I got to have some knowledge of what's going on. I got to figure out when I need to get involved, when I don't. Ultimately, everything falls to me. I'm ultimately responsible for everything. So when I get home, I just don't want to. I don't want to have to be.
That makes a lot of sense.
I need a break from that role, and she's more than happy to fill in being the boss when she's very good at it. And I drive her crazy because I don't always. She has to tell me things multiple times. But it's back to your point. It's like I got so many things going on. I tend to miss things maybe the first time, or if it's a week away or 2 weeks away, it's like I can't even put that on the mental map at this moment. We'll come back to that.
We have to hear things multiple times all the time.
Yeah, I do. It's I'm living the stereotype. But so when it comes to the home stuff, I have a great support system.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. So, but again, she also, just kind of the way she was raised. Her dad was an entrepreneur, ran his own company, so she saw, he was always working, had to work hard. So she expects that from, she expects that. Like, she wants me to take care of business, wants me to take care of work, wants me to do the things that I think are necessary to provide for the family. So she's super supportive.
That's awesome.
So I'm very lucky that I don't get a lot of pushback, like having to choose between the responsibilities at work and the responsibilities at home. I think she keeps me honest when things are important. She makes sure I know that, this is one where we need to, have a conversation about let work go. But she also recognizes that the career stuff, the work stuff is important. So,
it's good awareness.
I'm pretty fortunate.
That's awesome.
Because a lot of folks, I know a lot of guys that get a lot of pressure, and that's just another stress that can take away from everything else you're trying to do. Yeah,
and you're getting pulled in a lot of directions. It's probably pretty tough, and then you got to think about that all the time while you're at work or something. And
it could be a huge distraction. I mean, that's there's probably not much that's more important to your career than picking the right partner.
Yeah, and then you got all these guys at work and that are looking to you, and if you're distracted, then probably doesn't set a good example for them, and they're like, "Well, what's going on?" But
that's all
good thing
valid.
That doesn't happen. So well, what was your childhood like, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh man, my childhood was great. Just super lucky.
Where'd you grow up?
We grew up all over. We moved around. My dad worked for the government, so I was born in the suburbs of Chicago. We moved when I was 2. We moved when I was 6. Although, when I was 6, it was kind of just moving down the road. We moved when I was 8. So we went from Chicago to like the DC area, and then down the road in the DC area, and then went to Cincinnati, Ohio when I was 8. When I was 10, we moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And then when I was 16, we went back to Chicago. So I really grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. Like that's what I would, when people ask me that question, I say that.
Yeah.
Because it's the place I lived the longest, but it's also kind of unique, cool thing.
So did you stay there for a period of time, like, after you were a teenager, in your teenage years, I assume? Yeah.
10 to 16, we were in Alaska.
Okay.
So pretty formative years.
Alaska's cool. I've never been, but I would love to go.
It's unfortunate. I wouldn't say that. Super fortunate that we got to live there. Amazing people, learned a lot of really cool things, but was also at an age where it had no appreciation for what was going on. Like we would go ski at one of the best ski resorts in the world every weekend. No big deal. We'd walk out our back door. There'd be moose sleeping in our backyard or laying in our backyard. No big deal. We'd go fishing in the summer times, and the best fishing, salmon fishing, probably, I don't know if it's the best, but probably I can't imagine there's a better place. There's probably some places as good, but you're in the river and this, you just, all you have to do is drop a line in and the salmon are coming out. Just wild to think about, but just very fortunate growing up. Had great parents. I don't know how they did it, but me and my brother, they took us, we were always playing sports. I mean, we swam from the time we were 5-6 years old. We were on a swim team until through middle school. So we did swimming, and then we played baseball, football, basketball, and swam all year round. And they took us, I mean, I just remember they're always driving us somewhere. Like we would leave swim practice to go to football practice, leave swim practice to go to baseball practice. They just drove us around so much. But those were really good experiences growing up, as far as like, just being involved in all those different team environments, being involved in some individual, where it's all on you. Like if you win or lose, there's no hiding behind your team, like swimming. We had a great childhood. We're very fortunate. I mean, just growing up in the United States of America is like you won the lottery.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So you've got that. And then
I love that perspective.
We had great parents. They afford us a lot of opportunity and we grew up at a time where you just didn't have the helicopter parents where they were trying to make you always be perfect.
Yeah.
Our parents were more, again, it was our generation really, but they would like literally kick you out of the house. Like you have to leave. Like don't come back until dinner time. Go explore. Go find something to do. So was very fortunate to be afforded that opportunity and just learn how to be independent, way to solve our own problems. Like there's no parents refereeing relationships. So if you got in a fight, then you got in a fight, and you had to. And then the next day, you had to figure out the next day how to be friends with that person. Yeah, because there's only so many kids in the neighborhood.
It usually always happened that way, probably too.
Yeah, it did. It was. Just really fortunate.
I'm going to challenge you here with a question, but if you could relive one day from your childhood, what day would that be and why?
Oh my gosh.
There's probably so many different memories. But
yeah, so it's like, was it a really bad day that you would like to get right? Or is it a really good day that was,
why not both?
You just want to re-experience? I don't know. That's a tough one. For my childhood. I'm drawing a blank.
If you can't think of anything right now, it's okay. I know I'm putting you on the spot here with that one.
Yeah, that's I've never really thought about that before. I'm just trying to think back. There's definitely some things I don't think I want to say.
Be careful. It's okay.
Yeah, there's definitely some times I got into fights over stupid things that I would not do.
Yeah, some things you probably could take back for sure. But that's cool though.
Yeah. Maybe something will come to me in a minute. We can redo that one. But
okay.
There's.
How did you feel moving when you were younger? Did the moves? I know you didn't move like when you were. I guess you moved when you were 17 or 18. I assume 16. Yeah. Then you moved before that when you were 10.
Yeah.
Those core teenage years, you stayed put in Alaska. But how did those moves at a younger age feel for you at that time? Was it?
Oh, it felt like the world was going to end.
Okay.
Especially the 16 move. Like my parents were doing what was best for us. And what they thought was best for us, I guess. They wanted to get us, because Alaska was kind of like this bubble, right? It was isolated from the rest of the country. Great people, but they wanted to get us kind of back to, what they were more familiar with, which is the lower 48 is what they called it. Both my parents were from Alabama, if I hadn't mentioned that before, but so they wanted to get us, back down to a big city or somewhere where, there's just more opportunities for college and growth and experiences beyond, kind of the outdoor and the things we had in Alaska, which I don't disagree with, but it was hard because, that's all especially those 6 years where you're building all your relationships, you're You're kind of figuring out who you are as a person, making all the mistakes, doing dumb things, worrying about stuff, just growing up.
It's your core memory,
Yeah.
probably.
But each one of them was hard. But fortunately, my brother's 20 months younger than me, and we were pretty good at athletics. So no matter, each time we moved, we pretty quickly got integrated to.
That's awesome.
Because of sports, and we had each other. So we kind of had a built-in best friend that was always there, and you weren't ever really on your own. You had somebody that was going through it with you. But yeah, the moves, and that's something Andrew and I have talked about. My wife with our kids was like, there's trade-offs. Like she grew up she lived in the same house when I met her. When she graduated college, her parents still lived in the same house that they moved into when they got married. And they actually live like literally across the road from there to this day. So and all of her family was within,
really close.
An hour,
Okay.
and a huge family. I mean, we go to her parents' house for Christmas Eve. They have this big family get together, and there'll be 50 to 70 people there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
awesome.
Big family, all right there. Nobody leaves. And then you've got me, and it's like every couple of years we're moving. So that we had two very different experiences growing up, both good and bad for different reasons, obviously. So for me, like my brother, when we moved, he was 14, so he was in 8th grade. So he got to Chicago and made some friends in middle school, right at the tail end of middle school, and was able to be friends with those guys all the way through high school. And to this day, I mean, a few weeks ago, they were all together in Nashville.
Okay,
like the same guys. So whatever that is, 30 years, right? They've been best friends. But I really don't have that, just because of the way the moves broke up. And by the time I got to Chicago, it was the end of my sophomore year of high school. And I knew 2 more years from now, it's like, you're leaving to go to college. So I think it may be back to my childhood, something I would do differently. I was always a little bit standoffish with like getting too close to people and not necessarily intentionally, but I think subconsciously, just because, I'd been so close to all my friends in Alaska, and then boom, we're gone. And, that's a hard transition, especially back then. There wasn't social media, there wasn't cell phones, there wasn't you had to pay by the minute.
Effort,
just to call somebody. It was like, 10, 25, whatever it was, so many cents a minute.
Get your words in
quick. Yeah. Mom and dad, if you made that call, we're like, okay, you got 5 minutes.
I have an uncle that was notorious for using payphones and like ending the call really quickly, just because he didn't want to use his minutes. But
it's
pretty funny.
It's that's another thing that quite different now. It's quite different now than it was back then. But but I think those moves also made us resilient.
Okay.
Right. And I think the positives that come out of it is, like, I'm very confident, comfortable, whatever the right word is, but just going into some uncertain, unknown environment, it's like, those are experiences that you've just been through so many times of being thrown into this new environment. It's like, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to survive. It might be awkward. I might make a fool out of myself or do something stupid, but 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, a month from now, or 2 months from now, whatever it is, I'm gonna navigate this, just because I've got that kind of archive of being able to do it. So I think it also makes me more open to new experiences, open to new environments, new just taking on new challenges, things that maybe I don't have any experience doing. I'm optimistic about my ability to figure it out and get through it and do it well. So I do think it developed a lot of that mindset, skill, attitude, confidence, whatever the right adjective is.
So it might seem like a detriment at that point in time.
It was
actually turning to be like a pro in the long run.
Yeah, I think my personality and just the way I think about things, I only remember the things that like went bad. Like the things that went good, I just kind of dismiss it to
storm.
Like back to the question, it's like, is there something good, something you relive from your childhood? It's like, I don't know. Because when things go right, it could be you got lucky. It could be you did it right. Who knows? But there's nothing to learn. Well, I guess there's probably something to learn. How did you want to, if you have success, you want to recreate that success, replicate that success. But the things that really stick with me are all the things I messed up. Yeah. It's like those things. So those moves, the painful things. And so it's, you kind of, and again, I don't know what kind of warped-demented psychoanalysis, what bucket that would put me in. But those are the things that kind of fuel me because I don't want to make those mistakes again.
Yeah, you want to learn from your failures.
Yeah, and I'm fine messing up. I'm not afraid to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It bothers me. I don't like being wrong. I don't like doing things wrong. I don't like doing things that hurt other people or hurt their feelings or offend them or whatever. But
yeah.
So I think those things are really poignant in terms of like they stick with me and it helps me just not recreate those failures or recreate those problems. So I think just kind of back to the moving, all the it's painful to do, but at the same time it also builds a lot of who I am in terms of just resiliency, commitment. I don't know, those kinds of things, like being optimistic no matter how bad the situation is, being able to maintain my cool. Like when bad things happen, I don't occasionally I get emotional, but I'm very stoic in most situations. And so I think that's also been super important to helping me do what I've been able to do in my career is like when everything else is kind of seeming chaotic, I'm able to like stay calm, think about it rationally, like respond, not react. And again, I think all those things that happened over the course of my life have kind of built up to
do that.
Yeah. Because it's just like anything else. It's repetitions, right? You've been through enough tough things, enough hard things. It's like, it's going to be fine. So there's no reason to get all worked up now. We just gotta chip away at this problem and get it solved and get it behind us.
Yeah. Well, I had a question on here I guess you just answered it, but it was how do you manage things, or how do you, stay strong when things around you get tough? And sounds like you have that pretty well figured out. You just look for opportunities and
you just got to focus on what you can do and what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where a lot of people tend to get
caught up,
get distracted. Yeah, they just get lost. Is something happens and you worry about the 10 things that you have no ability to influence,
mm-hmm.
right? Like all these things out of your control, and then you're just spinning your wheels and not making any progress, and you're really putting yourself in a victim kind of position.
Yep.
Versus it's like, okay, that's totally out of my control. We can't focus on that. Can't worry about that. Here's the 10 things that I can affect, that I need to spend my time on. That you got to have a decision-making process, I guess, about how to prioritize that. What's going to have the highest impact. But I think that's the key, is just, okay, this thing happened. We can't undo it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like having that recognition, mindset. And there's no point in just stewing on it and complaining about it. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe that's healthy for a minute. Like, oh, this sucks, okay. And especially with the team, you got to give them a minute to, okay, we got this problem and this thing didn't go the way we wanted to do. Let's get all the griping and complaining out of the way. Okay, now what are we going to do about it?
Yep.
Okay, this is, but as a leader, you do have the responsibility to maintain that. You set the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're being emotional and you're just complaining and blaming and doing all that, then that's what your team's going to do. You're not going to make any progress. You're going to just lose ground because you're going to be focused on being a victim.
What happened to you?
Yeah, you're just going to be reacting, as opposed to, it's like, okay, this happened. Here's the things we need to fix it. This is the outcome we want. What are the things we can do to deliver this outcome that we're trying to pursue or rectify or remedy? And I think again, that's ultimately that falls to the leaders to set that tone, because you're going to have two very different companies, brands, whatever, however you want to think about it. And that's something we really focus on at Ranews is. And something I tell my guys all the time is like, we're we paint stuff. We're in the coatings business, but that's not what we do. We solve problems. Mm-hmm. Like, we're in the problem solving business. So our customers call us and they say, hey, I need help with X. I need this. I need that. And we got to solve that problem. And we know, because our customer will call and say, hey, I need this or that and the other. And the guys, oh, geez, we got to, this is a pain. It's like,
more work. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times they want us to do stuff that they don't want to do, because it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, again, it's valid. It's like, oh, geez,
it's a problem. But it's a problem.
But then it's like, no, but guys, what we need to worry about is when they stop calling us and asking for that, and they start calling somebody else. That's back to the discussion we were having earlier. It's like, that's a red flag. Like, as long as they're calling us and saying, hey, I got this inconvenient pain in the butt problem that I need it to go away. Can you guys fix it? We got to always say yes. And then even if we don't know how, we'll figure it out.
Find a way. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And so, and I'm as bad as anyone. They'll call with some crazy thing. It's like, oh, we can't. Oh, geez, that's going to be, we don't want to do that. And then it's like, no, we got to do it because that's who we are. That's who we are. Yeah.
That's awesome. So going back to college, what inspired you to become a mechanical engineer?
Oh, geez.
It's probably a lot of things, but
yeah, well, it was playing to my strengths. So I was good at math and science. Those are the things I enjoyed. I really enjoyed physics when I took it in high school. So that was kind of a catalyst. And then, I went into college thinking, okay, what can I study that's going to give me the best opportunity for success on the other side? So I was thinking about, if I'm going to spend 4 years getting a degree, I want to make as much money from that degree. I'm going to give myself the best shot to have a successful career, make good money, and be happy with what I do. So, and be good at what I do, really, more importantly. Because I think this is a whole nother discussion, but I think there's too many people chasing
joy,
what makes them happy instead of what they're good at, right?
Yep.
And so it was the things I was good at, and I didn't. When you're 18, you don't know. Like trying to pick what you're gonna be when you grow up. Like, I'm still trying to figure that out now. Like 30 years ago, I had no clue. So I just went with what I was good at, and something that on the other side was gonna put me in a position to make good money. So it wasn't. That was the logic behind it, I guess, and I don't know that there was any really more.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was chasing my dreams or anything like that, which I again I think is the wrong way to think about it.
There's definitely a balance there for sure.
Yeah, well, I think if you're good at stuff, I think you're going to be happy doing that.
Yeah,
like there's something to that, and
success. Success.
Yeah. Having wins it's important to your psyche, to your just overall happiness, and you want to go to work and be respected as somebody who's good at what they do. I don't think there's anyone that wouldn't want that. And they may deny that, but that's just a facade they're putting on. I don't really think. I think there's too many people trying to figure out what makes them happy, not finding happiness and being good at what they're good at.
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone that's, let's say they're working like a 9-to-5 job, it's really stressful, really hard, and they're really good at, let's say they're good at piano or something, and they want to pursue that passion, but they're not exactly sure how to make it work out or anything like that. Like, what advice would you give to them? Would you say just do both at the same time, or?
I would, especially if you don't know how to make it work. If it was like my child, I would say keep your 9-to-5 job. Yeah. Pay your bills. Because the first thing you got to do is take care of yourself. You got to be responsible for yourself. That's my definition of being an adult.
The bottom line.
It's not when you're 18. It's not when you go to college. It's not when you get out of college. It's when you're taking care of yourself. And then like the progression beyond that is you start a family and now you start taking care of other people and that kind of thing. But you gotta make sure you have things in order where you're at least taking care of yourself. And then use your free time. Don't do video games. Don't do, or whatever it is you're good at. Maybe it is video games. Like we were talking earlier, you get a channel and you make $14 per thousand on video. But yeah, piano, guitar, whatever your hobby is, use your free time to build that business, right? If that's really what you're good at and you want to do, but you got to make sacrifices. There's you're not going to be on YouTube with 100 million views on your music video the first time you put one out, right? You got to chip away, just like you're doing with this. You got to work it in your free time, and then at some point that pendulum's going to flip, and now it's doing enough to where it's like, okay, I can see a path of success right down this different venture that's really my thing, and you can make the leap at that time. And there's no perfect way to do it. It's kind of, you just got to kind of roll the dice at some point, right? Make the jump, but you definitely don't want to, or maybe I wouldn't recommend like moving back in with your parents and having, becoming a dependent. Like that's not a very fulfilling life either, from my perspective again. But yeah, I would say anything you're doing like that, pursue it in your free time. Make sure get a job. It might not be what you love. It might not be what you want to do, but you more important than more important than loving this temporary position that you're holding is like you've got to have a way to pay your rent or pay your mortgage, whatever you're doing, buy food, have some fun, live your life, make sure those things are taken, kind of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like make sure your basics are taken care of and then go pursue the stream. Even if the probability of success is low, it's like, because you don't want to get 30 years down the road and be like, man, I wish you don't want to have regrets about that. Like, so, you definitely need to give it if it's something you're really passionate about, I'd say give it your best shot, but work it in a way that, you're still maintaining that base level of security.
Yeah. You got to have security in your life for sure.
Yeah. Or at least supporting yourself, taking care of, being responsible for yourself, like the first principle of being a grown-up adult.
Yeah. Let's see. So you went to college, your undergrad, you got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, correct, from Illinois State?
No, my bachelor's I finished it at Northern Illinois. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and then, I did 3 years at Northern Illinois, got my degree, went to work for Caterpillar, actually, worked there for 17 years, but they moved. And then when I first started at Cat, I started doing grad school. Actually, I was working second shift, so I started doing it during the day, and then I got off second shift, and so ended up going to grad school at night.
Okay.
But that's kind of back to what we were just discussing. Like, I was working, when I was doing that, I mean, my routine was crazy. It's a lot. Yeah, because we lived an hour from work, so it was an hour drive to and from, because the town that the Cat plant was in, my wife would not live there. And she wasn't wrong. Like, it wasn't the community we lived in was definitely more of a fit for us. But so I would get up most mornings, like 3:30, 4 in the morning, drive to work, get to work by 5:30, work until 4:30, drive home, go to the house, maybe change clothes, grab something to eat, out the door. Had to be at class at 6. Class was from 6 to 10. And this was probably 3 nights a week. And then the other nights a week, you're doing homework or group projects or whatever. And then get home at 10, hopefully be in bed by 11, get up again the next morning,
just right back at it.
4.5, 5 hours of sleep. It was a rough, that stretch of life. And we had our first child, Landon, was this was from the time he was 0, a newborn, to around 2. I finished when he was 2.5, and then for part of it, Andrea was pregnant with our second child, Corbin. He was born in the middle of that, so we had
it's a lot
going on. There was not a lot of sleeping.
No fun, really, probably.
Yeah, I was exhausted. I drank a lot. I probably drank a pot of coffee every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no energy drinks. There's none of that. It was your only way to do it. I think they had the 12-hour energies or whatever, and then the caffeine pills. No dose. But it was just black coffee.
Would you change anything about your college experience or anything during that time period? Did you meet her in college? Or
I met Andrea in college, not at my college. She went to college at Wright State, which is in Dayton, Ohio. Okay. She's from Ohio. And the weekend after I turned 21, me and my buddies were sitting around, and we decided, one of them had a friend from high school that went to Ohio State. And so we've decided the best thing going on that weekend was the Ohio State-Michigan football game.
Oh, for sure.
So we went to, so we all decided, got in the car on Friday and drove to Columbus. It was like, I don't know, 8 hours, whatever. We had 2 cars. So we go out there, and then the first thing we do is, of course, we go to the bar.
Yeah.
And first bar we walk into, she's sitting at the bar. And so just, I don't know, went over, started talking to her, and we were just kind of hanging out. And then the guys I was with, they're like, hey, we're going to the next place. So I was like, okay. So it's like, hey, we got to go. Sorry. Nice meeting you. Left. We went to 2 or 3 other places. We're just kind of checking out. None of us had ever been there. So we're kind of getting the tour of the campus and the different places the college kids hang out. And it was crazy, right? Because this is Friday, the game's the next day. And we're right down from the fraternity rows. It was just a madhouse, right? So nothing like we'd ever seen. NIU, although they've had some decent football teams lately. Yeah. When we were there, they had like the longest losing streak in the nation. Okay. Had lost like 19 games or something. So we'd seen nothing like this. So first glimpse of like real crazy, like big time college. And so anyways, we get to the next bar or whatever, and we're kind of going around. It's like me and one of my buddies. I was like, I'm going back to the place where the girls were at.
Yeah,
like, I'm over this. Like it was just great. Like so packed, so crazy. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll go with you. So we go back in there, and she was still there. So got lucky. So then we just hung out the rest of the night. And funny enough, she still gives me a hard time about this to this day. But at the end of the night, instead of giving her my phone number, I gave her my email address, which, didn't think anything of it at the time. Like to me, it made perfect sense. And the reason it made perfect sense to me is, and maybe you've had this experience, but when you're in college, you have like a phone and there's 4 guys on the phone, and every month everybody pays. Back then you had long distance and all this other stuff. So every month we go through the phone bill and it's like, this is your long distance call. That's your long distance call. So here's how much Harrison owes. Here's how much Rob owes. Here's how much.
Okay.
And so,
that's interesting.
But my buddy wasn't, so he'd collect all the money.
Yeah.
But the money didn't always make it to the phone company. And so our phone was off.
Yeah.
As much as it was on, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't want to give her the phone number in fears that she would call it, and it's a dead line, and she thinks, oh, this guy pranked me, and gave me this bogus phone number. So I gave her an email address because I knew at least that was a reliable way to communicate.
And this was the .com. This is like the late 90s, right?
This is 1998.
Okay. Yeah.
November of 98. So 26
funny.
years ago. So that's how we met. And how I made such a great impression on her.
Were you ever in a fraternity at NIU or anything?
I was.
Okay.
I was a Sigma Chi.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The email thing is interesting. We
very different back then than now, for sure.
Yeah. We had we didn't haze or anything at all in my fraternity, but we had pledges, obviously, of course, and one of them was email pledge, and he had to only communicate with girls and people through email.
Which nowadays
so
is like crazy.
That.
Yeah, that's like it's like writing letters back when I was.
Now it's like now you got to call them. In 10 years, you're gonna be like, oh, you got to call them now.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's funny. Yeah, the email thing, it worked. I mean, you'd be shocked at how many times it works.
Yeah, I was happy to get that email.
That's hilarious.
But so then we dated long distance for the next, I guess, 3 years, and then when she got out of college, she moved to Illinois, where I was at, and she had a drug. I kid her. I say she had a drug dealing job, but she was a pharmaceutical salesman.
Okay,
that's what they say. I drug dealer.
That's funny.
So she got a job selling pharmaceuticals in Illinois. So then we actually got to be around each other and figured out that
that's cool.
That was going to work.
What a romantic way to meet somebody. I mean, nowadays you got people swiping and stuff. And
I can't imagine that. That seems so wild. To me. It just seems so wild.
Yeah, it's like first glances,
Yeah, it's
hard for relationships.
I mean,
nowadays.
it's in fairness, like if I hadn't thought she was attractive, I wasn't walking across the bar to talk to her.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, it's not that far removed from, it's just that you gotta make a split decision, and it's not like you send somebody a message. It's a different. It feels like a higher risk. Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, the worst thing she can do is say, leave me alone. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Any other college experiences that you had that were cool?
Oh, geez, yeah,
probably a lot. Anything you would change? Maybe?
Yeah, I would be a better student.
Yeah.
Which I was. The last couple of years I got serious, but my sophomore year, so here's something that I would change. So my sophomore year, second semester, had just joined the fraternity, and so I had the brilliant idea. So the good nights to go to the bar at NIU were Tuesday night and Thursday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So Tuesday night,
or was it something else?
Tuesday night was the sport. There's like a sports bar, and they would sell 40-cent beers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
Basically, you give them $5 cash, and they give you a tray with 10 beers on it.
Okay.
And then it was kind of like, you buy this round. That everybody would buy a tray of beer.
That makes sense.
And you spent $5.
Yeah.
And you had more beer than you should ever have. And so Tuesday night was a good night to go out. And so Wednesday morning was a bad time to have classes. And then Thursday night was a good night to go out. And there was like a club on, down the street from campus, right across the street from campus. And so everybody would go there on Thursday night. And again, they always had drink specials. Something was $1. Again, this is the 90s. So some mixed drink was $1 and some beer was $1, whatever the combination was, like Jack and Coke and a Bud Light or whatever. So So I had the brilliant idea that I would schedule all my classes. I had 6 classes, so 18 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So from 8 in the morning till like 5:30 at night, or however the schedule was, I had class on Tuesday and on Thursday. I was like, then I don't have school.
That does seem pretty brilliant.
I was sure it was brilliant, but go sit through classes for 8 straight hours, and it's like at the end of that, you're just like, oh my gosh. So I did that for a few weeks. Went to class, and then I don't know, some point. I don't know what it was, but at some point in the semester, I negotiated with myself, okay, on Tuesdays, I'll go to these 3 classes. On Thursday, I'll go to these 3 classes, and I'll cover and by the end of the semester, it was like I was barely making it to any of my classes, because it was just, we were just being stupid. So, didn't make the grades I was accustomed to making that semester. I think I made 2 C's, which is very unusual. I mean, I'd always, like through high school and everything, I always made pretty much straight A's. So that was good wake up call. Like again, back to the things that happen that are stupid that you do, but it's like, okay, no more of that. And so from then on, it's like, I'm going to every class, not missing any more classes. And really in college, that's 90% of the battle. Like if you go to the classes.
Exactly.
And I mean, you can't be stupid, but you have to study a little bit and do the assignments and all that, put in the work. But if you go to the classes, you're going to pass the class. Like you're going to make an A or B, depending on how hard the class is. So from then on out, just stuck to the classes. I think I made 1 grade the rest of the time that wasn't an A, which was in this class that, you were just praying you didn't fail it, because the guy that taught the class, he was on the team that came out with the first web browser, I think Mozilla or something like that.
Okay.
Like he helped develop that, and he was just no curves, no nothing. Like, and it was a high level engineering class. It was design of experiments.
Okay.
So a lot of statistics and all this stuff, and just made it super hard. I shouldn't say half. Anyways, long story, but that class was a weed out class, like your last year of college.
So you would have just paid a little bit more attention, split the classes up. Better. Did you? So you went Tuesday, Thursday to class, and then did you go to bars those nights as well? Okay.
Came home from class, got dinner, and
studied, forgot everything that night, and then woke up the next day, tried to cover it.
There wasn't a lot of studying that rest of that day. I mean, on the weeks that I did actually go to all the classes, there was no more capacity for college at the end of 8 straight hours of classes.
That's funny.
But I definitely wouldn't do that again. I didn't do that ever again, but that was seemed like a great strategy in the design phase, but in the execution, it was
not it.
No.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a great college experience. One thing would be, let's see here. So when did you know that you wanted to go back for your MBA? Was it just like an automatic thing? I guess you did it in the same time, kind of crossed over.
I just did it because I thought it's what I needed to do to be, again, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. But I knew, so when I got hired into CAT, they were doing, they had like this leadership, they were hiring engineers and putting them into this leadership development kind of program. Those things are much more common now, but this was back kind of right when they started doing it. So I came out of college in 2000, and so CAT was putting together this program. They were hiring engineers, and then they were working them through different rotations in the manufacturing arena. So you're going to have a job for a year for 3 years. So 3 different jobs in 3 years. And one of those jobs was going to be a leadership role, supervision role on the factory floor. So, and then, through that program, they were trying to like build you up to be a leader within the company. Obviously.
Did they tell you that along the way, or
no? That's how they introduced it.
Okay,
so it was a structured program. Obviously, you had to do your job, you had to do well. You had to perform, but that was the point of this program, was to develop the leadership for the future of the company. Because at that point in time, CAT hadn't really had a lot of college hiring other than directly into like their engineering or accounting ranks. Not in the manufacturing space, they'd had very little. And so they had this huge, they're looking at the demographics of the leadership there, and there's just a gap, right, of who's going to step up and fill as these people start to retire. So this was part of their plan to address that. So I was really fortunate to get into that program, got a lot of good training, but that's what really prompted me to start looking at, okay, I need to, like, if I'm going to be a leader in this giant company, I need to have some business acumen, business skills. And, you kind of pick that stuff up along the way, just in your personal life, but not not formally, right? Not the stuff that they're doing in business. So I knew that was something I needed to do, and I figured I might as well just get it over with as quickly as I could. So started that when I was within the first year, starting to work at CAT. And they had a program where you could apply, and they would pay for most of it.
Oh, that's awesome. Then, yeah.
So they, and at that time they had no commitment. So you could, it's not like if you did it and they paid for it, you had to stay 3 years, 5 years, whatever. It was just, they were willing to, I don't know what the deal is with it now that they have, but, so it was a great opportunity for me. So I just grabbed that as soon as they'd let me start, I started.
Yeah, it was nice that it got funded, partially, I assume partially funded as well. That's really nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they paid like all the tuition. I had to pay maybe some fees and, books and whatever I needed for the classes.
As long as you were passing the classes.
Yeah, you had to make a C. That's it. It wasn't, so it was a great deal. I was really lucky, from a career perspective to get to work at CAT as long as I did.
And where was this at? Where were you living at this time?
I lived in, so before we got married, I lived in Decatur, Illinois.
Okay.
And then when Andrea and I got married, I moved. She lived in Bloomington. So they're about 50 miles apart.
Okay.
But the CAT plant was in Decatur. And in Illinois State is in Bloomington.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I got my MBA from Illinois State.
Okay. I assume you moved around while you're working at CAT many times, or?
Yeah, just a couple times. So CAT, as soon as I finished my MBA, that September, so I finished in, I took one class in the summer program. So I finished in August, and in September we moved to Georgia, to Locust Grove. So that's how we ended up here. And we were able to we stayed in Georgia for 9 years, and then CAT moved us back to the Midwest to Peoria, which is where their headquarters used to be. Mm-hmm. And so I took a job up there because Andrew and I had, kind of back to the relocation discussion, we'd agreed that we'd move around. If CAT wanted us to move, we would move. But we wanted to get somewhere where when our kids got to be high school age, that we could get them all through high school, give them some stability for those last 4 years,
college,
formative years.
Whatever.
Yeah. So that was our plan, if you will. And so CAT, Landon, my oldest, was in 7th grade. I think he just started, or maybe 6th grade, just started middle school. And so we were kind of getting to that point where it's like, well, we've either got to ride it out here and to get them through, to kind of uphold that that commitment, or really Peoria was the only option because that's where headquarters was. There still would be career growth there, where we could get the kids through, because it's with 4 kids, it's a 12-year commitment, right, to get them all through high school.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So we needed somewhere that had a lot of opportunities, and at the time, Peoria was it with CAT. So we took the job, went to Peoria, thinking that that's where it was going to be. Within a year of us getting there, CAT came out and announced they're moving the headquarters out of Peoria to Chicago. It also became clear that the next jobs that they had for me probably weren't going to be in Peoria. So came home and just said, hey, we got to make a choice. Either we're going to keep moving, one, I could just try to not grow anymore in my career, just cap out, keep doing the same job, just tell them no more promotions, no more nothing, which wouldn't have been very fulfilling to me. 2, we just accept this and we keep moving with CAT and, disrupt the plan that we had for our kids. Or 3, we just, I'll quit working at CAT and we'll move where you want to live, and I'll find a job. Yeah. So that's what we decided to do.
Okay.
And so then that's how we ended up back in Georgia. So I resigned from CAT and we came back to Georgia.
So you worked at CAT for many years. What was your favorite position that you enjoyed? And then maybe what was some key takeaways along the way?
Yeah. The last job I had, I was the operations manager for their bulldozer plant in Peoria. Okay. In East Peoria, technically. That was my favorite job. But it was kind of a culmination of all the different things I'd done kind of playing out. And we had a lot of pretty tough challenges there. So, worked with the team, and we had some pretty good successes in a pretty short period of time. So it was very rewarding from that perspective. And it was just fun. Kind of the scope of the job was so broad that it just helped. Again, it was kind of, you got to put into play all the things you learned over the previous, your life, really. But
I think it was 6 or 7 different positions along the way. And
and CAT was good. they gave me a lot of opportunity. They treated me great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great place to work and learn and grow, especially early in your career. And they have a lot of resources and a lot of, there's a lot of different things going on with the business, and they're running multiple different types of businesses. So really fortunate again to have the opportunities I had there. But that was my favorite job. But along the way, I think one thing I always took whatever. Only one time did I not accept a job the first time they asked me to take it. And that's one of the things my dad actually taught me, because he worked for the government. He made it up to a very high level within the government. And so, we talk about work and like, what do I need to do to be successful or a good employee, or, however the conversation was going. And one thing he'd always tell me is, he told me the things I did was I just took the jobs that nobody else wanted to have. Like, nobody wanted to go to Alaska. He was at one point this like international liaison. And so he was traveling all the time. So when I was young, when we lived in DC, when I was like, around that 6-year-old age, between 2 and 8, he was traveling all the time. Like he was going to Australia, he'd go to Japan, he'd go to Europe. He just was gone all the time because he was basically, he worked for the IRS. So he was, I guess, negotiating tariffs and tax duty, trade type things with these other countries. So from his perspective, that was a job nobody wanted, because traveling was even less glamorous in the 80s than it is now, especially international. But that's something that stuck with me that he had shared with me. So whenever they came and said, "Hey, do you want this job?" Yeah, I'll do it. I'll take it. I did tell him no one time, which was a job in Peoria, but I ended up, after a couple rediscussions, I ended up taking that job as well. But yeah, that's something I think, just being open to. I think having this like scripted out plan for your career. It's good to have an idea what you want to do, but it's never going to happen the way you planned it. And if you're sitting around waiting for what you think is the perfect next move for you, you're just going to be sitting around waiting. Yeah. Versus you could have had 2 or 3 other experiences. I mean, I had, like you said, 6 or 7 jobs in 17 years. In only, I think, one of those positions I held for like 5, and the rest of them were all, 1 to 3 year assignments. And I think each one of those you learn different things from. And so the more different types of experiences you have, especially as an individual contributor early on in your career, the better, you're building that foundation, the better prepared you are for those more senior leadership positions, because you understand multiple facets of the system, as opposed to just being an expert in this, one field, or one piece of the supply chain or the operations, or the operation. So I think that's another thing that really helped me be effective where I'm at now, is just having all those different positions, working in supply chain, working in purchasing, working in quality, working in manufacturing, working in engineering, working in IT even, which I didn't want to do. But each one of those things, you just, once you get in there and get exposed to it, you learn so much, and you start to see how the other pieces, play into that. And then, then when you get a role in that next discipline in kind of the chain, you understand how what you're doing affects these other groups in a much
hands-on way. Like you've done the job before, so how to.
Exactly. So it definitely affects how you do this next job, because you understand the trade-offs that you're making. Whereas if you've never worked in this other discipline, you can make a decision over here and you don't understand the effect that you might be having on this other group, unintentionally, whether it's positive or negative. So it just helps you make better decisions for the whole, as opposed to making some improvement that really makes your job better, but makes everybody else's job worse. Yeah.
I really like seeing the success stories of people, like executives, that will go from joining like an entry-level position with a company and then working their way up through the different routes and stuff to get the experience that they need to be able to run the company. So
I think one of the things, kind of back to what would you do differently, I think one of the things that would have made more sense for me, knowing where I ended up. So I went to high school, in Aurora, Illinois, or graduated high school there, and there was a cat plant, 10 miles away in Aurora, Illinois.
Yeah.
And so what I wish, in hindsight, it'd have been ideal to go work as a production worker at the cat plant, get them to pay for me to go to Northern Illinois and get my engineering degree at night. Maybe I work at night and go to school during the day or vice versa, whatever the schedule worked out. It might have taken me 5 or 6 years instead of 4 years to get my degree, but I'd have had all that experience of actually like dealing with the production environment as a foundation. Then I get my engineering degree. Then they can put me in that leadership program. And now it's like, you're even more.
You already had your foot in the door.
Yeah, you're even more prepared, to do each one of those, even those entry level jobs that I was doing out of college. I'd have been way more effective at all of those, having, been on, because when you're a manufacturing engineer, you're designing processes and tooling that the guys on the floor have to use. So I'd have been on the user side of that. So I would have had a much better perspective on the design side of that. Similarly, as a production supervisor, if I'd have been supervised by a production supervisor, you'll know, you'd have a perspective on, oh, this guy's a good supervisor, this guy's a bad supervisor. Here's why I think he's good. Here's why I think this person's bad. And so that would inform how you perform that job, as opposed to having none of that perspective. And you're just out there kind of taking advice from other people who are doing the same role as you, or people who've done it before you, but you don't really have that employee perspective, which I think would have been, again, it would have been valuable. So yeah, I think in retrospect, that would have been the optimum career path or kind of developmental path, right? Is go work on the floor, get that same, cat pays for your degree, let it take a little longer to get your degree, but at least while you're getting your degree, you're getting all this super valuable experience that's going to just, again, make that foundation broader and stronger for those future roles.
Cool. So would you have any other advice for people just coming out of college, like an engineering degree, besides getting your foot in the door? And
yeah, I think the biggest thing is just be open to whatever opportunities are presented to you. Okay. Don't be locked in on. Again, it's good to have an idea or a plan or some sense of what you want to be, and definitely if you get a job and it's just what you want to do, don't feel pressure to go do other things if you don't have those aspirations. But if you want to grow and develop into leadership roles in the future, the more varied, the variety of experiences you get is going to really be valuable later on down the road. If you just want to be an engineer and sit behind a computer and do Pro-E and design widgets, parts, systems, whatever it is, that's great. The world definitely needs those types of people. But if you want to get into leadership, I think the variety of experience in putting yourself out there and being willing to take on things that you're not really sure you know how to do or can do, but putting yourself in a situation where you just got to figure it out is definitely a skill and are experiences that will serve you well later on down the road.
It's a lot to take in. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and again, fortunately, I worked at a company that they afforded me a lot of those opportunities. And I was either dumb enough or smart enough to take advantage of them.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've made a lot of sacrifices over the years. Is that something you would recommend for other people that,
I mean, you
want to follow a route like yours?
Yeah, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. I mean, either way, you're going to make a sacrifice. You're either going to sacrifice maybe the goals or the aspirations you have for your career because you're unwilling to do the things that they require, or you got to sacrifice, the things that you think that you'd rather be doing now for the things you should be doing to prepare you for to position yourself for whatever your definition of success is. So you're sacrificing one way or the other. You just got to choose what you want to sacrifice. Yeah. So I think that's always been my perspective is you just got to doing what's required. Like kind of back to in the morning, I get in that stupid cold plunge thing, just to kind of to set my mindset off the right way for the day. Right. It's like, okay, I'm just going to I know there's gonna be a million things today that I don't want to do, but I know I need to do. So I know this is good for me. I'm just going to do this first to kind of put the momentum, put myself on that trajectory for the day So that's really, to me, that's the biggest benefit I get from that, is just the like mental, like putting me in the right mindset for the rest of the day. And I think that, so that's
kind of like going to the golf course and, you want to pull at the big driver and hit it a couple times, but you should probably do like a couple 3-foot putts first. Just get the execution down, visualize it,
that's another thing I talk to my boys about, like this conversation we have when each one of them, when I drop them off at college, and I remind them of this regularly. It's like, hey, college is it's an opportunity, it's good, go get an education. But really what college is you figuring out how to do the things you need to do, instead of the things you want to do. And the people, whatever the stats are, half the people that start college never finish it, or something along those lines. Like that's the order of magnitude. I don't know the exact numbers, but the reason is because half of them can't figure out, they're too busy doing all the things they want to do, like going to the parties, like my example, that one semester. Like if I hadn't had a reckoning, like that's a path.
Playing video games.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasting time.
There's a million things. You're out here on your own for the first time. You're living by yourself. There's nobody. I'm not here to remind you to do your homework. I'm not here to tell you, hey, you've been on the video game for 8 hours. I'm not here to tell you, hey, you shouldn't be sleeping till 2 p.m. when you've got 3 classes that you've missed. Like you have to learn how to, like, that's the skill you're developing in college is as much as anything. And that's going to determine your success in college. And it's also going to set you up for success later in life, because when you get to be an adult and you're making money, like, you don't have to get out of bed and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. You get fired if you do it enough times, but you don't have to. There's nobody going to make you. But if you want to be able to do the things you want to do in your life, you have to take care of the things you should take care of first. And so that's really the test, or the
discipline,
the skill you develop in college. Is there's all these options to have fun. But and if you choose those first, you won't be in college very long.
Yeah.
And such is it holds true for your career. Like when you get to be, you start making a little bit of money, you've got some freedom, you've got some options, you can go you can do whatever you want to do. You can take trips, you can go on vacations, you can do all these things. I mean, just get a credit card, you can max that thing out. You can get $20,000.
So like easy, that. Right?
Yeah. But
so easy to make bad decisions.
Yeah, but that's if you don't take care of the things you need to take care of, you're not going to be able to do those things for very long. You're not going to be able to do those things for very long. So I think that's a very important skill to develop, is like when it's time to work, you gotta take care of business, whatever that is for you. You don't necessarily need to aspire to be a CEO if you just want to be, I don't want to say just, like, not flippantly, but if you're going to be an engineer designing stuff, you still got to show up to work and design that stuff and get your projects done on time. And then you can go, play video games.
Do what you want. Yeah.
Go to the bar, hang out with your girlfriend, take a trip, whatever it is your thing. Start your piano business, or piano playing adventure like that. But you got to take care of the things you need to take care of, whether you want to or not. You have to develop that skill, that muscle.
I know we talked about Elon earlier. Elon's so crazy. I don't know if you saw this, but he's actually like top 20 ranked overall in Diablo, the video game. And it's like, how do you put a rocket?
I did hear him talk about that, actually.
It's like, how does that happen? How do you do that?
I don't know. You have time. It's like, again, it's back to like, he did say something to the effect of like, the reason he does that is when he's playing that game, he can't think about anything else. So for him, it's like, that's his exercise, or that's his yoga, or that's his meditation, or that's his way to just like clear his mind and like reset. Which makes, I can see that.
It's interesting that he clears his mind in such a complex way, by playing like.
I can't play like these new video game systems. I'm completely unable to do it. Like, there's so many buttons and toggles and like the stuff. I need the old school Nintendo where there's like up, down, left, right, and A and B. Like, that's all. That's
exactly.
That's what I've got.
I'm starting to get there now. I'm starting to slow down and playing and just not competitive anymore.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the boys have the Xbox, and I've tried to play it. They just laugh at me. I'm so bad, which it's fine. It's fine.
You talked about definition of success earlier. What's your definition of success personally and then like professionally?
Oh man,
tough question. I know, because it's
I mean, personally, I just want to have I want me and my family to have the freedom to do the things we want to do, right? Just whether it's the resources, the time, the the health, being healthy to be able to do the things we want to do. Again, recognizing that there's things we got to take care of to enable that, but that's just everybody being healthy and having the opportunity to do the things they want to do. That's success. Work wise, that's like it's always a moving target. It's kind of like every year or every phase, the definition of success kind of moves, but it's, again, we want to just maintain our reputation and our status as the preferred person our customers come to, continue to grow the company, capitalize on the opportunities that we have in front of us, or at least pursue them with our best foot forward. And if we win, we win. If we don't, then we get beat. We'll just try to learn from that and get better. But just continue to see the company grow and be successful. Obviously, most important thing is taking care of the work we have today, but chasing the opportunities and the projects that are in front of us and continuing to grow the company. And I don't have a metric or a number or anything like that, but I think as long as we're pursuing those things, then that's success.
It's the right direction. Just constantly steadily improving and moving up. Makes a lot of sense. You talked about a healthy lifestyle earlier. I'm curious. I know there's a lot of people today that want to try to live a healthier lifestyle, and it's hard right now with so many fast food, greasy options and the things going on with that in that field. How do you and your family just try to eat and live a healthier lifestyle? I know you guys work out and stuff like that, but there's so much that goes into that. I know.
Yeah, I'm kind of a psycho about it.
Yeah.
So when we just try to eat real foods. We try not, and again, it's hard with kids and you're on the go like that. So we try to be 90% compliant, I'll say, to it, but just eating real foods, eating farm raised meats, not stuff you buy at the store, although sometimes that's all you've got. But we try to buy a lot of our stuff from farmers where it's at least not, you've got a better shot at being high quality. I take a ton of supplements, vitamins, all kinds of different things. I get my blood work checked
I need to do that for sure.
Every 3 or 4 months and just see where everything's at. So I just try to be in tune with what's going on, stay away from the things I know aren't good. Again, that's another thing, like with back to the podcast discussion, there's certain podcast guests, like I'm always listening to what they say just to try to learn something new. The Huberman podcast is very good.
Huberman, okay.
For that kind of stuff, but just try to stay away from processed foods, cut out sugar. Sometimes, I track everything I eat every day in like the MyFitnessPal app, and again, that's a lot of that you're estimating, but at least kind of gives you a direction to make sure that you're getting enough protein, not eating too many carbs, that kind of thing.
Do you primarily eat at home or?
We eat out fairly regularly.
Okay.
But during the week, it's almost all at home.
What are some like healthier places that are they like local places or are they, is there any chains like I've seen like Wealthy is a company I've seen where they make like protein bowls and stuff that seem pretty healthy.
Yeah, anything, I don't know, like if you're ordering food, like pre-made meals to cook, I don't have any recommendations. I would say just stick to stuff that's like real meat and vegetables.
Okay.
I think anything that's the best place to start, and then you can get smarter on or learn more about, what kind of meat, where you get your meat from, what kind of meat you want to eat. But yeah, I would say just bread's terrible for you. If it comes in a box, it's terrible for you.
What do you think about sourdough bread? Is that like one of the healthier options?
Yeah, I think that's a healthier option, again, especially if it's like locally made. I think that's definitely, from my understanding, better.
Okay.
I feel better when I eat as few carbs as like very low carb. There'll be periods of time like this week until yesterday. I'd been doing the keto diet again.
Mhm.
I did that for several years, back around 2017. So I was, or no, 2016. I started in 2016. But I was, in 2015, I was training to run the Chicago Marathon. And we had just moved to Illinois in October of 14. And I just wasn't feeling right. Like, and my dad has MS and now Parkinson's. And he was initially diagnosed with MS when he was 37. And coincidentally, I just turned 37. And I'm starting to feel, even though I knew MS was not like a genetic thing, it started freaking me out. It freaked me out so bad that I went to the doctor, which I don't typically, unless, I know I need an antibiotic or something because I got a sinus infection. So I went to the doctor, did all these tests. They scanned me, did blood work several times, depression tests, all this stuff. Go through this thing for like 3 months. And at the end of it, they say, well, we think you're depressed. And I was like, well, I took like 3 depression tests, 3 different times. And none of them were even like marginal. It was always not registering anywhere near. I was like, so we ruled everything else out, right? That's what it's got to be. It's like, oh, okay. So then I just kind of got sarcastic with them. I was like, well, what do we do? I'm depressed. What do we do? It's like, oh, I'll write your prescription. You'll take these pills. And I was like, so is it like I take them for 2 weeks and I'm better, or what do I do?
Yeah. What's the
and
solution?
she's like, no, you'll just, you'll come back every 3 or 4 months and we'll check you and blah, whatever it is, whatever the protocol is. You just take them forever, basically, was the answer. I was like, no. Walked out, didn't go back. So anyways, I go through the rest of the year and I was running, I ran the marathon in October, was still running like 25, 30 miles a week all the way into December. In January, I went to Arizona because Bama and Clemson played in the national championship game in Arizona that year. And I'd been talking to a buddy of mine that I work with, just telling him like, I just don't feel sharp. I just no energy. Like I don't know what's going on. And he's like, oh, I do. Read this book. And so he gave me this book called The Bulletproof Diet by Dave Asprey. And
The Bulletproof Diet. Okay.
Yeah. And so, and there's a ton of, probably better books now, but this was my first introduction into at least the concept that maybe what you're eating is killing you. And so on the way out there, read the book. On the way back, read the book. And when I came back, I went cold turkey, like keto, cut all the sugar out, all the processed food, bread, like all the things. And when you're training for a marathon, it's like, oh, you're always carb loading. So I was eating cereal multiple times a day. When I was out running, like on a long run, you take these gel packs that are just 100 calories of sugar. So, I mean, I was taking
going for
bananas all the time, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Just you just feel like that's what you're supposed to eat because that's what they tell you to do. Quit all that stuff. And for 2 weeks, it was like I had the worst flu or the worst hangover I've ever had. Like for 2 weeks straight, just felt like I was going to die. The third week started to come out of it. By the end of the third week, I felt like I was 25.
That's awesome.
And all I did was eat, meat and vegetables. And I started doing this coffee with like butter and coconut oil in it. They called it bulletproof coffee in the book, but and just stuck with the keto diet since then. I lost like 12 pounds. I didn't run a mile, by the way, for the whole month. I quit running altogether. I quit exercising, couldn't do all that. Lost a bunch of weight. It was just all the inflammation and crap. Just coming out of my body.
Flushed it all out.
Yeah,
essentially.
So that was a very eye-opening experience for me. And since then, I've not been sick one time.
Wow. Okay.
I tested positive for COVID one time, had no symptoms. Would never known I had it. We had to test to come home. We were on vacation in Mexico for spring break, and we had to test to come back to the U.S. This is right when they started all that, and I tested positive, so we had to quarantine in Mexico. That's a whole other story. Definitely a family vacation that made some memories. And then I had like a cough. Just this year, I had a cough for like 3 or 4 days. But since I quit eating all the crap, and then slowly over the years, like listening to podcasts and reading different things or listening to different audiobooks, more likely, just added different supplements in along the way. And now I take way too much stuff. But I feel great. My energy level's great. If I eat wrong, I know it. If I eat bread or again, you got to live a little bit. Like if somebody's birthday, we'll have some cake. Like coming up, Thanksgiving to Christmas.
It's tough.
Yeah, the diet's gonna be a little bit off the reservation, but yeah, as long as I stick to that, 90% compliant with that plan. I mean, I feel great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tips. I mean, I definitely need to start living a healthier life for sure.
Yeah, when you're young, you can get away with it, but it's
a lot of Chick-fil-A
to catch up with you. Yeah, I mean, I'll do I generally do the grilled Cobb salad at Chick-fil-A. The dressing's not the best either, but again, it's one of those things.
Yeah,
little ranch dressing, little buffalo sauce, mix it all in there.
Ooh, that sounds good. It's like a little tangy too.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Their avocado lime ranch. It's not you like it?
Yeah, I do.
I'm not a big fan. It just
maybe
I had a bad pack. It was like right when they came out with it, and
I tend to like almost everything. There's very few things that I'm,
I say the same thing. My girlfriend would say otherwise, but
I understand. Yeah, there's a few things I'm hard no on, but it's a very short list.
Okay. Well, I know we're getting close to almost 2 hours here, but I think so. Are we? I think we're getting close.
152.
I guess the final question would be, what do you want to be known for when you're gone? And it's I don't want to make it depressing or anything, but it's a big question, I guess. But
yeah, I wasn't ready for that one either. I guess just known as somebody that loved his family, was generous, disciplined, hardworking, took care of, somebody you could count on to take care of whatever needed to be taken care of. I think that's a pretty good list.
That's awesome. Yeah. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the
my
podcast.
pleasure, man. Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Letting me be on.
And if you guys enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, and then are you okay answering maybe some questions in the comments if there are any on YouTube?
I'll try to. Yeah.
Okay. And I can just send you the questions possibly in one sheet and just quick answers for them. But if you have any questions for Robert, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And thanks for watching.